Hey dreamers, welcome back to your Dream Coach podcast. I'm Shayla Wey. I'm a small business coach, growth strategist, and believer that your dream life starts the moment you lead like you mean it. This podcast is all about leadership, fulfillment, and growth. And today's episode is for all my high achievers, visionaries, and freedom seekers who hate the word schedule, but also kind of know they need one. We're diving into one of the most game-changing mindset shifts I've ever had in business and in life. And that's just structure is not the enemy of freedom. It's actually the doorway to it. Now, if you're anything like I was, you probably equated structure with restriction. Maybe you said, I don't want to be boxed in, or I just want to go with the flow. But let me tell you, flow without structure really does turn into chaos. Trust me, I've been there and I've lived that. So in today's episode, we're going to break down how to create freedom within structure and how to build a schedule that supports your energy, your values, and your goals so that you can stop feeling overwhelmed and start actually enjoying the life that you're building. And as always, we're trying to tie this into 3 pillars of this podcast and my coaching, which is focused on leadership, fulfillment, and growth. So let's get into it. Well, the first thing is to structure. That structure is going to really create that mental freedom. So I want to start here is most people think structure is restrictive. But what I've learned is that the lack of structure is actually more stressful. So when you're constantly guessing what to do next, you're juggling tasks, or you're reacting to your day instead of leading it, you drain your mental energy. So having a really clear structure means fewer decisions, less stress, and just more room for creativity. My best ideas don't come when I'm overwhelmed, obviously. They come from when my brain has space. And when I have that structure, that is really what allows me to have that space to be able to brainstorm and think about where I'm going and where I'm growing my business. The second thing is you can't scale chaos. So if you're building a business or you're leading a business, you can't scale what you can't repeat, and you can't repeat chaos. So what I've learned is that structure allows you to delegate. It also allows you to systemize, and also allows you to scale. So whether it's content creation, client delivery, managing your team, different systems, is that when there is a repeatable rhythm, it's easier to grow without the burnout. Freedom is going to come from knowing that your business doesn't fall apart when you take a day off. And that is the power of structure. Now, the third thing is structure reflects your values in action. I say this all the time on coaching calls, is that your calendar is a reflection of what you truly value, not what you say you value, but what you actually prioritize. So when I started blocking time for family, health, creativity before my to-do list, I felt way more fulfilled because I wasn't just building a business, I was building a life. And this is something I help a lot of clients with, because we say we want one thing, but if it's not a reflection of our calendars, then it doesn't really actually happen. And that's when we start to have that inner conflict of not feeling like we're actually living in alignment. So structure is how you walk your walk. It's how you align your time with your truth. Okay. So it allows you, to walk your talk. Okay. It allows you to walk the walk, but more importantly, how to walk the talk. The fourth thing is energy first planning changes everything. So not all hours are created equal. One of the biggest breakthroughs I had was learning to design my schedule around my energy, not just my tasks. I often see this happen with clients as well, where they have better energy at certain parts of the day. So for myself, I'm more creative in the morning. So I like to do more of that, the focus things that are more creative, whether it's strategy, planning, admin, that type of thing will save more later in the day when energy dips, right? So in the beginning of the day, I'll do a lot more content or strategy focus things. And then I save more admin or calls when my energy I know is naturally going to be a little bit lower. And I've just found that honoring your natural rhythms makes you way more productive and a lot more peaceful. And for me, that's a win-win. And I see this as a huge shift too with clients that I work with when they're able to design their day. So even if you're not an entrepreneur or own a business, but you're a leader and you're working within one, we oftentimes can set things up differently to feel like we have more of a rhythm throughout the day. The fifth thing is the right routine creates momentum. So you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. I remember learning that years ago, and especially if we're wanting to scale a business, is I'll challenge lots of my clients that if I was to just step into their business for the day, everything should have a system that I should be able to follow step by step. So when I started implementing a powerful morning routine, CEO time for myself, just weekly to look on my business, and just even those Sunday planning rituals, everything shifted, not because I became more disciplined, but because I became more consistent. So routine anchors your growth and they make success a habit, not a scramble. So routines are really key for building and scaling. The sixth thing is boundaries start with the calendar. One of the most empowering things that you can do as a leader is protect your time. Your schedule teaches others how to treat your time. So if you're constantly available, overbooked, or reactive, your team will follow suit. So structure helps you build in margin, space to think, breathe, and lead with intention, and that's space. So it's where your next level lives. The seventh one that I've share a lot with clients and I use myself too is time blocking, which equals time ownership. So if you've never tried time blocking, let me just say it's a game changer. So instead of creating a never ending to do list, you give every task a home or a space in your calendar. So it's not about being rigid, it's about being clear. So, for example, personally, I block off Monday mornings and Wednesday mornings to work on my business. So, if tasks come throughout the week, I can say, I can do that on a Monday or a Wednesday, and then it's out of mind and it's in that home in my calendar. And I've created a space to work on certain things that still give me flexibility, but they have a spot in my calendar to take away feeling more overwhelmed and changing that feeling to more ownership. When I've helped people time block within their businesses, that might look like time blocking for certain departments. It might be scaling and looking at ways that we can allow ourselves to connect with our team. And when people have implemented time blocks, it allows them to be more present with what they're actually working on and to feel less guilty, right? To actually have space in their schedules to work on key parts of their business. So, time blocking is really how you become the CEO of your calendar, not the admin assistant of your inbox. The eighth thing is you can really build structure that feels fun. So this is where fulfillment really comes in, is you get to design your rhythm. So if you want Mondays off, cool, structure around that. If you want to batch your work and take Fridays to create content at a coffee shop or do client follow-up calls, you can totally do that. Now, obviously, if you're not an entrepreneur and own your own business, that might not be easy, as easy done as I say it. But again, we can still create structure within our own day-to-day of most of the roles that I feel like you're in at this moment. Years ago, I used to take Wednesdays off and I would work really long days, Monday and Tuesday. And Wednesday, was that kind of halfway checkpoint. So whatever works for you, design a schedule that does feel good, because how we feel allows us, the energy to really show up the way that we want. I've had clients that are in more of an employee-based role where they don't have as much flexibility, but they have done things like gone to their workplace 30 minutes early and gotten a walk so that they beat the traffic, were able to fit in some fitness and get themselves in a right headspace before their 9 to 5 really started. So we can get creative with how we design that. But what I found is when you design your business around your lifestyle and not the other way around, you do feel more energized, not less. So structure doesn't have to mean a 9 to 5. It means intentional rhythm that honors what matters most. Now, number 9 is rest deserves a place on the schedule. So let's say it louder for the achievers in the back, because rest is productive. You will never do your best work from a burnt out place. I used to feel guilty for resting, or I felt like I had to have every space on my calendar fully packed. But I realized that resting and taking time away was actually a huge part of my results. And I encourage clients to do the same, as oftentimes we spend a lot of time and energy planning our work life, but we don't take that same intensity into our personal life. So what would it look like to schedule a life that's exciting outside of your day-to-day work to make it really feel fulfilling on both parties? Now, a schedule, right? We schedule our meetings, We put those types of things in, and those aren't optional. That's really essential, right? And when you treat it that way, you do lead better, live better, and you grow faster. And taking that same intensity into our personal lives as well. Is everything in our personal life that's important to us, is it actually in the calendar? And are we treating that as we would, let's say, a meeting, for example, with our team? And the 10th one is, the last one here, is loving your schedule is an act of leadership. Because here's the thing, is when you love your schedule, it shows. You're not rushing through your days. You're not constantly reschedulizing or apologizing. You're showing up fully present, fully prepared, and really alive with good energy. And that's leadership. So that's how your energy sets the tone for your business and for your life. The more that I've loved my schedule, the more I've loved my life. And that is the kind of freedom that structure can create. So if you have been resisting structure, I hope today gave you just a bit of a new lens and perspective, because freedom isn't about avoiding structure, it's about owning it. You get to create a rhythm that works for you, one that reflects your values, supports your growth, and fuels your joy. So DM me on Instagram at Shayla Wey Coaching and tell me, what's one change that you're going to make to love your schedule more? And if this episode resonated with you, send it to a fellow business owner who's ready to shift from reactive to intentional. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps us keep those conversations going. And if you haven't already checked out the LFG Business Academy on School, it's a free community that I've started with a ton of resources and tools to use to help you grow to the next level. Remember, your dream life starts with the way that you live, the way that you lead, and the way that you grow. I'm Shayla Wey, and this is your Dream Coach Podcast.